Okay, so hello and welcome to NSF's TechAccess AI Ready America webinar, focused today on the National Coordination Lead. Thank you for taking the time to join us. My name is Michal Zibal, and I'm a Program Director in NSF's Directorate for Technology, Innovation, and Partnerships, or TIP. I'm joined today by Greg Peterson from NSF's Directorate for Computer and Information Science and Engineering, Nasser Al-Araji from NSF's Directorate for STEM Education, and Patrick Breen, Senior Procurement Executive and Deputy Office Head for NSF's Office to the Chief Financial Officer. Here's how we'll proceed today. Greg Peterson will provide briefly the NSF context and a reminder of the program overview for the AI Ready America program. Patrick Breen will provide an overview of the award mechanism for the National Coordination Lead, which will be an other transaction award. I'll walk through an overview of what we're looking for in a national lead, as well as the expected scope of work. Nasser Al-Araji will provide an overview of proposal preparation and the evaluation process. And then we will provide some time at the end for Q&A. A quick housekeeping note, the proposal submission deadline is July 21st at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Questions can be submitted today in the webinar Q&A throughout this presentation. We'll also be accepting additional questions via the program inbox, ai-ready@nsf.gov, through June 15th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and responses will be posted shortly after on the program's initiative page. So I'm going to hand it over now to Greg.
Thanks, Mahal. Good afternoon or good morning to everyone, depending on where you are. Thank you for joining us for this important conversation about the launch of the funding call for the National Coordination Lead. We've previously held 2 webinars about the AI Ready America program, including a discussion about the motivation and goals of the overall program. I will give a quick overview of this new solicitation and how it fits into the overall AI Ready America program landscape. We are at an inflection point with the adoption of artificial intelligence in the US. It's already reshaping how Americans work, learn, build, and create in countless ways. AI is already embedded in many of our daily activities, including how we search, how businesses operate, and how communities deliver services. At the same time, not every community has the same access to the knowledge, tools, and workforce capacity to fully benefit from these advances. This gap is the opportunity we face. How can we ensure that every state, every region, and every community participates in and benefits from the AI-driven economy? And how can we make sure that every US citizen has the opportunity to fully participate in the AI-driven economy? AI Ready America is a national, coordinated approach that seeks to leverage and strengthen the great workforce, or the great work already underway, to align it and to ensure we can maintain American economic vitality and leadership in the AI economy. NSF's mission is to promote the progress of science, to advance the national health, prosperity, and welfare, and to secure the national defense. To achieve this mission, NSF has been investing in fundamental research in all fields of science and engineering, delivering foundational and use-inspired outcomes for 7 decades. This graphic shows the directorates that support these fields of science and engineering research, which are supported through the 7 directorates listed here. The newest directorate is TIP, the Directorate for Technology, Innovation, and Partnerships. Building upon the nearly 75 years of NSF work, TIP represents a cross-agency platform to accelerate technology translation and development. We now turn to the AI Ready America program. The TechAccess AI Ready America program was launched by NSF's TIP Directorate in coordination with NSF's Directorate for STEM Education and Computer and Information Science and Engineering, as well as 3 federal agencies: the U.S. Department of Labor's Employment and Training Administration, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's National Institute of Food and Agriculture, USDA-NIFA, and the U.S. Small Business Administration. These 3 NSF directorates and our federal partner agencies each bring a unique mission and perspective to the shared goal of supporting an AI-ready America. The program additionally expects to engage with industry and philanthropic organizations as the program develops. This slide highlights the program's mission, impact, and who it is designed to benefit. The program's mission is to expand access to AI knowledge, tools, and training so that individuals, small businesses, civic organizations, and the broader workforce can fully participate in and benefit from an AI-enabled economy. The impact we're aiming for is a future where every community has the capacity to thrive in an AI-driven world, where adopting AI strengthens economic competitiveness, improves services, and opens new opportunities across sectors. The program aims to advance 4 core goals. First, ensuring that individuals across the country, from students to mid-career workers to government leaders, have the foundational understanding needed to use AI confidently in daily life. Second, enabling businesses, especially small and emerging enterprises, to adopt AI in ways that increase productivity and competitiveness. Third, supporting local governments and community organizations in using AI to improve public services and spark local innovation. And finally, strengthening the workforce so people across sectors can apply, innovate with, and lead with this technology. In summary, this program expands AI education beyond the classroom into civic and public and private sector contexts, offering a coordinated framework that links education, workforce development, industry, and public sector engagement. Before we get into the program components themselves, we want to highlight the core principles that shape how the AI Ready America program is designed. The first principle is that coordination is a primary focus. There are many AI-related efforts happening across education, workforce, and industry, and there's a clear need to understand what's being done and where. The program is built to help connect these efforts across local, state, and national levels. Second, the program focuses on identifying gaps and scaling what works. AI adoption is moving quickly, and states need to build on strong models and fill areas where support is missing. Third, the program is meant to add to, not replace, existing networks and investments. We expect coordination hubs to make use of established state-level networks, as well as relevant AI investments across NSF, federal agencies, industry, and others. Here we highlight the components of the AI Ready America program. First, each state and territory will have an AI Ready coordination hub. These hubs will lead work that reflects local priorities, needs, and capabilities to coordinate activities within each state or territory. Second, the program will establish a national coordination lead. The national lead will work across all hubs to elevate best practices, support shared needs, and help provide a coherent national approach to AI readiness. Third are AI Ready Catalyst Award competitions, a series of topic-driven competitions that will be issued over the course of the program to rapidly pilot and scale approaches that address high-priority national needs as AI continues to evolve. To say a little more about the timing and funding amounts, the funding call for the state and territory coordination hubs was released as solicitation NSF 26508, and this was the focus of the previous 2 webinars. Proposals for the first round of that competition are due on July 16th. It is anticipated that each hub will receive $1 million per year for 3 years, with the possibility of a 4th year. Awards will be standard grants or continuing grants. The National Coordination Lead is, of course, the focus of today's webinar. The program will be funding 1 National Coordination Lead with an anticipated budget of $5 million per year for 5 years. The National Lead will be funded using an other transaction, which you'll hear more about in a few moments. Proposals will be due on July 21st. The AI Ready Catalyst Award competitions will be released through separate funding opportunities, and we will post those announcements on the program's initiative page as they become available. You can see a link on this slide once again to the initiative page. I'll end my part with this slide that shows you the growing team of people behind the AI Ready America program from across NSF and our federal partnering agencies. As a reminder, if you have questions about the program, please email the program inbox at aiready@nsf.gov rather than reaching out to any of the other agencies or individuals listed on this slide. I'll now turn it over to Patrick Breen.
Thank you, Greg. Over the next several slides, I'll be providing an overview of NSF's Other Transactions Authority funding mechanism and what it means for the National Lead Award. So first, I'd like to just go over what is an other transaction. So Other Transaction Authority is NSF's newest obligation authority. We received this authority through the CHIPS and Science Act of 2022, and it's available only for use in programs that have a direct nexus with the TIP Directorate. In terms of definition, it's actually easier to define an other transaction or an OT by what it is not. An OT is not a grant, it's not a cooperative agreement, and it's not a FAR-based contract. Because of that, it is not subject to many of the statutes, regulations, policies, or restrictions we use to implement those other more traditional award types. An OT is a flexible funding mechanism that allows NSF to tailor terms and payment schedules. With an OT, we can have any sort of payment type that you've seen under those traditional award instruments, everything from cost reimbursable to firm fixed price. But we here have decided that for the national lead for AI Ready America, we're looking at a combination of fixed price and milestone-based payments. And we'll talk more about that here in just a few minutes. OTs also are what we like to call relational contracting activities. So this allows NSF to really build a relationship with our awardees specific to the program and those programmatic goals. And essentially, we work with that awardee to co-create the contract document itself and work through how we want to see all those terms and conditions work. As opposed to other types of instruments, negotiations with the awardee is the central process we use to define the end contract we have with the awardee. We'll work with that awardee or potential awardee in the case of the negotiation process to determine how the agreement ultimately looks, how it functions, and how we administer that agreement as a team. And that we would be us here at NSF, the agreements officers, the program officers, and the awardee, as opposed to our other types of instruments where we really spend a lot of time up front defining requirements, going through the proposal process, and really defining everything at stage one. Under an OT, we shift the burden of time to that negotiating process so that that final agreement is again co-created by us and our awardees. We should just say here that, what our expectations are of you, what your expectations are of us, how we put all this together, how we meet our long-term goals, and how we establish this long-term relationship. That's that negotiation process that we use. That allows us to get to a win-win solution that allows not only NSF to achieve success in executing our mission, but also allows our awardee to be successful in the execution of that program. If you would like to get a better understanding of how NSF currently views other transactions, I'd like you to go visit the NSF Other Arrangements and Other Transactions Guide. The link you can find here on this slide. And again, the big thing I want to emphasize here as you're looking through this guidance documentation is that other transactions do not follow the PAPG. Many of you are familiar with that guidance document here at NSF, nor does it follow the Federal Acquisition Regulation. Our implementation of our Other Transactions Authority is explained in this guide, as well as how we intend to apply some of the some statutes, some regulations, some terms and conditions. All of that you can find here. It's on our website for anyone to look at. But let's talk briefly about what those other potential instrument types are and where other transactions are different. Most of you are likely familiar with federal financial assistance. Those are grants and cooperative agreements. Or you might be familiar with federal acquisitions that are subject to the Federal Acquisition Regulation, the FAR. The use cases for those instruments are really defined in the Federal Grants and Cooperative Agreements Act of 1977. That regulation or that statute, as well as the regulation supporting the implementation of those instrument types, are very well structured. They're highly regimented. And they provide for limited sets of applicability, right? The underlying definitions of those instruments determine how they can be used. When we are looking at a financial assistance instrument, a grant or a cooperative agreement, that has to be for a purely public purpose. The government has very limited involvement if we're talking about a grant. And there is some substantial involvement in terms of a cooperative agreement, but not control. Under a FAR-based contract, we typically use those to acquire goods and services to directly support government operations. And they're established in accordance with the Federal Acquisition Regulation. Now, under the FAR, there is a section dedicated solely to research and development contracts. A contract can be used both for a public purpose or for the direct benefit of the government. Other transactions, however, just really do work outside of that framework. And they are very unique. You might be aware that other agencies have other transactions authority as well. Some of you may be familiar with the authorities in the Department of War or Energy or NASA, for example. NSF's authority is different than those other agencies' authorities. Everyone's other transactions authority is slightly different. Everyone has their own implementing guidance for their particular brand of other transactions authority. And the way we've created ours here really is to allow for that win-win partnership through relational contracting. So that when we put these together, it is a true long-term relationship and that we're working hand in glove to achieve success for the programs. So I want to say a bit more about two particular items specific to the AI Ready America OT structure. First, I want to talk about milestones. As we noted earlier, we are planning to have the National Lead Award include a combination of fixed price components and milestone-based payments. So a fixed price payment is a set amount that we both agree to upfront for a defined piece of work. It doesn't require an awardee to track or justify actual incurred costs the way a traditional cost reimbursement mechanism would. That's very similar to our standard grant programs here. Instead, the focus is really on delivering the agreed upon scope at the agreed upon price. Milestones, in comparison to fixed price payments, milestones are discrete, predefined performance checkpoints. Those payments follow demonstrated progress against measurable criteria. We'll develop these milestones collaboratively during the negotiation process and adjust them if needed over time to support innovation and maintain accountability. Those milestone-based payments will be tied to specific progress points. And again, we'll define those through the negotiation process. But this combination of fixed price and milestone-based payments will allow the program to tailor a payment structure that is specific to the nature of the work being done by the awardee. Some of the activities that are proposed will easily lend themselves to fixed price payments. Others will require milestone-based checkpoints. But the important thing is to keep in mind that this mix of what's fixed price and what's milestone-based will be determined through the negotiations. That negotiation period is really where the awardee and the NSF work together to have a common understanding of scope, have a common understanding of pacing and payment structure, and really make sure that the way we design this will support success on both sides of that equation. The next thing I want to discuss just briefly is the relationship with NSF. I really do want to emphasize that the awardee here should expect hands-on engagement with NSF staff. We've noted before, at least I have here, that this really is a relational contracting. We will have a true relationship. There tends to be a lot of discussion between NSF and the awardee with respect to day-to-day operations, much more than you would experience in a standard financial assistance agreement or contract. The awardee should expect to have engagement from NSF through program officers, through the agreements officer, and through the agreements officer representative. NSF will also expect to interact with the awardee team on a day-to-day basis as well. Typically, that would be the team lead or a PI, the program manager, whoever the senior key personnel are, and definitely the financial lead as we work through those payment issues. I will now hand it over to Mahal.
Okay. Thank you, Patrick. So in this slide, I'll provide an overview of our anticipated timeline for the OTASO. So NSF published the OTASO on June 2nd. Proposals are due July 21st at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. NSF and federal partners will evaluate the written proposals using the OTASO evaluation criteria. Then a subset of proposals will be invited to, or proposing teams will be invited to deliver oral presentations and possibly additional written evaluation steps will also be included. That's anticipated in the August timeframe. For those invited for oral presentations, you will get something in writing from one of our agreements officers with the request to participate in a virtual oral presentation. You will receive instructions for what you have to put together for the oral presentation and the date and time of the presentation. You'll receive information with at least 1 week notice for that. After the oral presentations and any additional written content that was requested, the evaluation team will conduct their final evaluation and make recommendations for an award to the acquisition office. At that point, the acquisition office will reach out to the organization that was selected to move forward with the award and will begin the negotiation on terms and conditions. We anticipate the time frame for this being the end of August and into September. As mentioned earlier, this is where the bulk of time will be spent in the evaluation to award timeline. Once we finish out the negotiation process, then we'll of course move into execution of the award. And that's where you will have continuing and ongoing engagement with NSF throughout the award period to ensure success of the program on all sides. So now let's walk through the National Coordination Lead scope of work and what makes a strong proposing team. The National Lead's charge is to enable, assist, and amplify state and territory coordination hubs while standing up national level capacity in areas that individual states and territories aren't likely to build alone. The OTASO organizes this work across 7 work streams that we'll go over in a moment. And as already noted, the program anticipates making a single award as an other transaction with a funding commitment of $5 million per year for 5 years. So here I'll preview the 7 work streams with the full details provided in the OTASO. And I'll mention this now, and hopefully we'll remember to mention it again, to please make sure to read the OTASO in detail in its entirety. There's a lot of information in there that goes well beyond what we're speaking about in the webinar today. So the first work stream is hub support and technical assistance, and its purpose is to strengthen each state and territory coordination hub's capacity to execute the 5 required responsibilities listed in the solicitation for the coordination hubs, including providing needs-driven advisory services, communities of practice, shared resources, and aligned performance metrics. Workstream 2 is national knowledge sharing, visibility, and gap identification. And the purpose here is to create public-facing tools and communications that highlight progress, surface comparative insights, and identify gaps in resources or capacity to help inform targeted action for the coordination hubs and other organizations. Workstream 3 is national AI deployment support, and its purpose is to establish specialized national level deployment capabilities, including practitioner training and a potential AI deployment core that states can tap into when local needs exceed scope. Workstream 4 is industry and philanthropy engagement, whose purpose is to mobilize external partners to contribute resources, expertise, and support aligned to hub needs and national lead workstreams, expanding reach and impact. Workstream 5 is national coordination and priorities sectors. The purpose is to selectively coordinate in sectors where national level tools, alignment, or shared learning will add substantial value beyond existing efforts. Workstream 6 is AI Ready Catalyst Award competitions, and the purpose here is to support competitions in partnership with the AI Ready America NSF and federal partner program team to rapidly pilot and scale approaches that address high priority national needs in AI readiness. Support could include competition design and post-award support, and may also include executing competitions, but that will be decided down the line. Workstream 7 is documentation reporting, key performance indicators, and independent evaluation. And its purpose is to implement structured reporting and evaluation with national key performance indicators that roll up from hub metrics, produce analytical briefs, and deliver actionable recommendations for program improvement. I'll now go deeper into the first two work streams to highlight how to consider the priorities that we've described in the OTASO. So I'm going to do this just for the first two so that as you're looking through all 7, you have a sense of how we're thinking of prospective proposers reading through this. So for this slide, I want to emphasize so each work stream in the OTASO begins with a summary paragraph that explains the purpose of the work stream. In this case, it's to support and strengthen each state or territory's coordination hub as it carries out its 5 required responsibilities. The summary is there to anchor the intent of the work stream. So immediately after the summary, the OTASO lists a series of required activities. These are not optional. Every proposing team must include each of these activities in their work plan. And then teams may go beyond these requirements if they believe additional activities will better support hubs or accelerate impact. So your proposal can extend and innovate, but it must cover everything that's listed in this section. Some examples of required activities for this work stream include conducting national support needs assessments to understand differing hubs' needs, developing a technical assistance framework that includes deployment guides or implementation support, launching communities of practice, hosting an annual coordination hub convening, and creating and maintaining shared resources such as statewide AI readiness plan templates, performance metric templates, and sector-specific strategies. This slide shows the suggested timeline associated with workstream 1. And here I want to underscore something very important from the OTASO. So these timelines are not exhaustive, and they're really for illustrative purposes. So they're intended to show a reasonable staging of milestone development and implementation for the first year, but they're not prescriptive or mandatory. The OTASO makes it clear that proposing teams may adapt or adjust these timelines based on their own approach, their internal structure, and what they believe is realistic for a rapid but responsible national stand-up. What the proposal evaluation will be looking for is a credible phased plan with milestones and performance metrics, and not adherence to this exact set of dates. You may choose to move some activities earlier, combine certain steps, or phase others in later. What matters is that you explain your rationale and your sequencing clearly, and that your timeline aligns with the work plan and staffing levels you propose. I'll briefly move through another example now with workstream 2. The purpose here is to ensure national level visibility and knowledge sharing, and to create tools that give the country a clear picture of how AI Ready America is progressing. The OTASO lists several required activities for this work stream, including developing public-facing tools that share data and insights, spotlighting activities across hubs, offering engagement opportunities such as webinars or briefings, and importantly, identifying gaps in resources or capacity across states and sectors. So again, you have the summary, and then you have the set of activities that are required. And also, as I mentioned before, teams can always go beyond this set of required activities if they have ideas that will strengthen national coordination or communication in this case. So here too, you can see this adjusted timeline. So for this adjusted timeline for workstream 2 is meant to show a reasonable early staging, things like releasing initial public tools by month 3, beginning spotlight and engagement by month 6, and expanding activities by month 12. But as before, the OTASO is clear that these timelines are illustrative and non-exhaustive, proposing teams should adjust the pacing based on what fits their approach and capabilities. What matters, again, is that your timeline is credible, aligns with your work plan, and supports steady momentum during the first year. We now want to share with you what we're looking for in a lead organization for the National Coordination Lead to help you assess whether your organization might be a good fit. There are 6 characteristics that we believe will make a highly qualified national lead organization. These are described in the OTASO in section 5. First, the organization must have a demonstrated capability to execute an OT award. That means having the institutional systems, governance structures, financial controls, and staffing needed to manage an award that includes tailored terms, milestone-based payments, and collaborative negotiation. An organization, I want to be very clear, does not need prior OT experience. But what it does need is to clearly show that it's ready to operate effectively under this OT mechanism. Second, the national lead needs operational agility and specifically the ability to rapidly stand up a semi-autonomous program unit. This includes establishing the team, subcontracting structures, and management processes that allow the awardee to function with speed and flexibility. The awardee will need to ramp up quickly, adapt to evolving program needs, and execute work at the pace national scale coordination requires. Third, the assembled team must collectively demonstrate comprehensive expertise in AI readiness, including technical expertise in AI, awareness of policy and regulatory considerations, and hands-on experience supporting education, workforce, and industry in becoming AI ready. This expertise does not need to reside in a single organization. It can be distributed across partners. What matters is that the team can credibly cover the full scope of what the national lead will be responsible for. Fourth, the national lead must have authentic national convening power and a reputation as a trusted neutral steward. Fifth, the OTASO offers to show demonstrated commitment of key personnel. Senior key personnel, especially the individual serving in the national lead role, must have meaningful and sustained time commitments. For the national lead director role or equivalent, the OTASO requires a minimum of 75% full-time effort. Other core leadership positions should reflect levels of effort aligned with the responsibilities they will carry. And finally, the national lead must show capacity to execute the full set of work streams, from hub support to sector coordination, to national level deployment support, to Catalyst award competitions, and all the documentation and reporting required for national performance monitoring. These characteristics taken together provide the foundation for a national lead team that can deliver on at the magnitude and pace required for the AI Ready America program. I will now hand it over to Nasser.
Thank you, Michelle. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are joining from. And let's turn our discussion to proposal preparation. Proposal guidance is described in section 7 of the OTASO. Proposal have a limit of 20 pages. The OTASO includes a full set of format specification, covering items like section headers, how supplement materials need to be packaged, and you should look closely at this requirement to avoid non-compliance issues. Note that proposal will have 6 sections listed here, as you see them on the slide. Read through this carefully in the OTASO, and here we will focus on the aspects of section 7.2 and 7.3 as well as 7.5. Again, the page limit is tight, which means clarity and structure are critical. NSF is looking for precision, coherence, and feasibility. The four components that really form the heart of the proposal are listed here because together they describe your overall vision, your approach to the 7 work streams, your team structure, and how you plan to mobilize additional resources. The OTASO emphasized that component 1 and 2 should present a clear and connected plan across all 7 work streams with milestones and metrics that show how the work will be unfold. Component number 3 is where you demonstrate the team configuration and the FTE commitments that match the responsibility you are proposing to take on. In component 4, you outline how additional financial or in-kind resources will expand and sustain the work beyond the funding period. The OTASO also notes that while proposal must address all 7 work streams, teams can go beyond them if there are additional activities that strengthen their approach and make sense for their state of practice or organizational model. These 4 components are your opportunity to bring all of that together in one coherent narrative. In summary, strong proposals are concise, are well integrated, and clearly structured. So what about supplement material? So we'll walk through the supplement material here. This supplement material provides essential building blocks that help round out the written proposal. Each item serves a specific purpose in showing how the proposal team is organized, how partners will participate, and how the organization is positioned to carry out the full scope of the national lead responsibility. For example, the BioSketch and partner materials help establish the team capabilities, and the roles different organizations will plan and play. The latter confirming the organization ability to execute an OT is particularly important because a national lead has to manage structure that is different from a traditional grant. The project example provides a chance to illustrate how the organization has successfully delivered on work of similar scale or complexity. Taking together these supplemental materials or pieces connect directly to the responsibility laid out across the 7 work streams. They help ensure that the proposal tells a complete and coherent story about the team's readiness to launch and operate the national lead. What about budget? The OTASO asked for a budget and justification for the first 12 months of effort, not for the full 5-year funding period. And that limited window is intentional. Under the OT, budgets are negotiated annually. So the goal here is to provide a clear view of how the work will launch in year 1, rather than projecting costs across the entire 5-year performance period. The cost categories you see listed here look very familiar to anyone who have managed NSF grant before. Direct labor, fringe benefit, material and supply, equipments, travel, subcontracts, consultant, and other direct costs, as well as indirect costs and fees. The OTASO outlined these categories to provide structure, but there is always a flexibility in how organizations organize and justify their cost. It is important to underscore the negotiation aspect. Final budget and payment structures are determined during the OT negotiations, and that process may adjust amounts, may adjust phasing, or even the mix of payment types to ensure alignment with the work plan and milestone. The initial 12-month budget is therefore a starting point. meant to inform negotiation, but not to serve as a fixed commitment for the entire award. What about letter of commitments and collaboration? The OTASO distinguish between letters of commitments from subcontractors and letters of collaboration from partners. And the two types of letter serve different purposes. When an organization is listed as a subcontractor in the budget, a letter of commitment is required. That letters need to describe the specific role, the specific work of the subcontractor will perform, what that organization is, and why that organization is well qualified for that role. It must confirm that they have reviewed OTASOs and are prepared to ramp up quickly to meet program needs. Partners listed in component 3 provide letter of collaboration or letter of commitments, and these letters are meant to affirm the roles and relationships that make up the broader national lead team. These letters focus on the intent to collaborate and how the partner contributes to the overall coordination efforts. Some organizations can appear or may appear in both roles as a subcontractors and as a partner. And when that is the case, they would submit both types of letter, each serving its appropriate function. Together, these material help clarify the full team structure, showing how responsibilities and relationships are organized to support the national lead. What about eligibility? Any responsible US-based organization, that's excluding foreign entity for sure, may submit. All proposing organization must have an active SAM registration prior to submission and throughout the performance period. One proposal per lead organization is allowed. Multiple organizations can be involved in via subcontractors under a single lead. What about conflict of interest? To avoid conflict of interest, an organization selected as a national lead will be prohibited for the duration of the award from serving as a lead or partners on any coordination hub award or future hub proposal submission, and also from participating as an applicant in the upcoming AI Catalyst Award competitions. Organization may apply to more than one competition, coordination hub, national lead. However, if selected as a national lead, you cannot serve formally within a hub. If you are already part of a hub award and later selected as a national lead, NSF will ask that you exit that role to preserve neutrality. A reminder about submission detail: submit your proposal as a PDF by email to the email listed in the solicitation. Use the subject line AI Ready America National Lead Proposal. Your submission must be complete and sent by the authorized organization representative, your AOR, who can make certification and commit the organization to the project. Again, a reminder, deadline is July 21st, 2026, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, I will briefly outline the review process and the evaluation guidelines specified in the solution offering. Proposal will be evaluated based on 3 evaluation criteria as described in Section 9 of the OTASO. The first criteria is about organizational experience, strengths, and capabilities. This is the set of characteristics described earlier that the AI Ready America program teams sees as essential to the success of the national lead. Reviewers will assess the proposing team's ability to execute an OT, stand up, and manage a semi-autonomous program unit demonstrate comprehensive AI readiness expertise, whether it's technical, policy, education, workforce, and convene nationally as a trusted neutral coordinator and execute all required work stream and present a strong team partnership structure with a clear time commitments and operational capability necessary to successfully implement the initiative. For criteria number 2, the second criteria is the work stream execution approach. This criteria focus on the quality of the implementation plan. Reviewers look for a coherent, feasible, integrated plan with a clear vision aligned to program goals, specific strategies, milestone, performance metrics, and realistic phasing, and evidence that you understand scope, complexity, and interdependencies across the 7 work stream. For the third criteria, which is about budget realism and alignment, reviewers will evaluate whether the proposed budget realistically allocates resources to accomplish the proposed work, aligns with milestone and staffing, demonstrate understanding of what it takes to stand up and operate as a national lead organization, and outlines credible strategies to mobilize additional resources beyond NSF funding. At the same time, record that the final budget is subject to negotiation with the selected team. In summary, strong proposal will demonstrate more than a compelling vision. They will provide clear evidence that the team possesses the organization capacity, partnership, operational readiness, and implementation experience necessary to serve as a trusted national leader for the AI Ready America initiative. With that, I will now hand it back over to Mikhail. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now we will move into the Q&A portion of this webinar, where we will attempt to answer at least some of the questions that you've submitted. We've been collecting your questions submitted via email and throughout this webinar. We'll address some of the questions today. We will address many more questions in writing, and those will be posted on the initiative page in approximately 1 week. And please continue to submit additional questions to the ai-ready@nsf.gov inbox as they come up, and you can do so through June 15th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. When you submit your questions, it will be very helpful if you have in the subject line AI Ready America National Lead questions, so we can easily identify those. Okay, so I'll now, my colleagues will join me and we will attempt to answer your questions.
Okay, great. Thanks. So I'll be asking some of the questions that have come in through the chat so far. And one of the questions, we have a lot of different programs going on at NSF. And Greg, I wanted to ask if you can tell everybody a little bit about the relationship between the AI Ready America program and NAIR, as well as other programs that support technology for small businesses like SBIR, other AI-related programs.
Okay, well, thanks, Alana. That's a big question. So obviously there is a broad spectrum of activities, research activities, et cetera, that are within the NSF. We're happy for you to leverage those with the AI Ready America. In particular, the question involved SBIR and STTR. Those are programs within TIP, which are focused on translating technologies, perhaps out of universities, through small businesses to take inventions, technologies, et cetera, for economic development. So and those can cover any area that's related to the research that NSF supports, including AI. But the programs themselves tend to focus on one particular piece of technology, as opposed to the broad collection of things that we're trying to do with AI Ready America. So there is some similarity in the sense that AI Ready America is very focused on economic development and trying to help everyone in the country to be able to participate in the AI economy. So certainly you can look at SBIRs and STTRs, but I would say that some of the goals are a little bit different between the programs. The question also asked about NAIR, and so NAIR is a program that is out of size in the OAC, so the Office of Advanced Cyber Infrastructure, and so NAIR is the National AI Research Resource. And as the name implies, the focus of NAIR is on providing capabilities to the community to support research in particular. And so it complements what we're talking about, but the focus with AI Ready America is to look at all segments of the population and help with every person being able to participate in the AI economy. And so they're complementary. We're working together with them, but they have some differences. In particular, the focus of NAIR is on research, whereas the focus with AI Ready America is much broader than that and looking at everyone in economic development. Anyone want to add anything to what I said?
I'll just add that I put into the chat NSF's AI programs page, where NSF as a whole tries to give a sense of what the landscape looks like. It's probably not comprehensive, but it will give you some idea if you're looking to see the variety of AI-related programs at NSF, of which there are many.
Okay. The next question will be somewhat about the state and territory coordination hubs and the national lead and their relationship. So maybe Nasser, if you can start us off, and then if anybody else wants to kind of jump in, but just telling potential proposers a little bit more about the relationship between the national lead and the state territory coordination hubs. Is this a very hands-on interaction, and what kinds of interaction should proposers expect?
Thank you, Elena. National lead applicant should describe how they will engage with the stakeholders, including coordination hub, how they will support the collaboration among coordination hub or among state coordination hub, and also facilitate communication and build alignment across the AI Ready America ecosystem at a national level. So coordination between, or collaboration between coordination hub as well as national lead should be described as part of the national lead proposal.
I'll add a little bit more here. So we have intentionally chosen to have the state and territory coordination hubs awarded as standard grants or continuing grants, with the purpose of not having both NSF having hands-on engagement and the national lead. Instead, what we're doing is the national lead is really going to be a partner to NSF and our federal partners. So a real partner to this program. We'll be working closely together as we've tried to get across throughout this webinar. And so your interactions, so the coordination hubs will be working very closely actually with the national lead, and then by extension with the program itself. The first work stream is really all focused on that coordination. And the purpose here is thinking about, how can we use this program to create this national network? And so this will enable, the national lead will really enable setting up this network, right? So what is going on really well in each of the coordination hubs that should be elevated to the national level and that other coordination hubs can take advantage of? Where are the places where the coordination hubs, where there's gaps and it's really difficult for a particular state or territory to take it on? And collectively, the cohort of coordination hubs asks the national lead to help take something on, to take on a responsibility. So some of that is put in very clearly that the program already sees, and other parts will be developed and really informed by the coordination hubs.
Thank you. Patrick, I have a couple questions for you related to OTASO, kind of some more technical things. A lot of folks on the line might not be as familiar with this mechanism as you described. So I'll ask two questions. First is about any kind of requirements. We know that foreign organizations are not eligible to submit under this solicitation. Are there any other limitations around who could actually make up part of the team that submits, not the organization itself?
So there are, and we will put these in writing so that everyone gets them identical, and so that I don't give incorrect information. I also want to go back and pull the answer we provided in a webinar to another program where we've been getting this question. But yes, there are some constraints that may impact that. So we'll get that answer out in written form so that folks have it clear and so that I don't misspeak here.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And I know there's also some concerns of the size limit and page limitations as far as submission. Could you just clarify that as well?
Sure, we will also clarify with our office of the chief information officer what the size limits are. In general, we have not had any issues yet, and this is very similar to size limits and constraints we've had on other programs. So I don't expect an issue, but we will provide those. I do want to suggest though that folks do not wait until the last minute to submit. It is due at 4 p.m. If we get it at 5:30, it doesn't matter if you send it at 4:12 or at 3:12, we may or may not be able to accept that. So in general, the rule around contracts is that you need to make sure you submit enough times to where it can get through our firewall. We will again check with our CIO and any potential constraints there. We haven't had any issues yet, but I would just really recommend that folks do not wait to the last minute to send things in.
Great, thank you so much. And we're getting down to the last couple questions here, but please know we are recording them, and then we'll be getting the answers out as Patrick and Michal have stated. Another component of AI Ready America is the Catalyst Award competition, and we have some folks asking about the budget for that. Is that included in the $5 million per year, or is that a separate award budget?
That is separate. So there's a category, or there's a work stream where the national lead will support the awardees from the Catalyst Awards, but the funding that will go directly to the Catalyst Awards themselves is separate from the $5 million.
Great, thank you. And another question that's been coming in as far as eligibility is, what if a proposer was to apply to be a sub-awardee on both? So they are not a lead organization for a state or territory coordination hub, and they are not the lead organization submitting to the OTASO for the national lead. Would this be acceptable to be a sub-awardee on both proposals?
So I'll take that to start. One of the things we're concerned about here is the organizational conflicts of interest. This is a slightly different conflicts framework than most folks are used to, especially if they're more familiar with the financial assistance side of the house. Without getting some very specific information, the answer is that may be a conflict that may prevent them from doing both of those activities, and may not be. It's very fact set specific, and we would need to get some very granular information to make a full determination on whether or not that would be allowable or not. But just in general, it's a process by which a conflict doesn't exist until the actual incident occurs. So we also can't put the cart before the horse. So it's a hard question to answer without knowing more information. Sorry.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who's joined and our program directors for answering these questions. Michal, over to you to close us out.
Okay, so thank you again for joining today. The key dates again to remember are June 15th, that's this upcoming Monday, for questions, and July 21st at 4 p.m. Eastern Time for proposal submissions. And we look forward to proposals that enable, assist, and amplify AI readiness across the country and help build a coherent national approach.